This week on Maker Update, a lamp that's through the looking glass, a butterfly you can steer, a 3D printed vending machine, and how to use free weights as a battery. Hello and welcome back to Maker Update, the show where we search high and low across the internet to find all the coolest stuff that makers are making and share it with you to inspire your next project. I'm Tyler Weingartner and I hope you're all doing great. Let's get started with the project of the week. What do you get when you combine a kaleidoscope, stained glass, and a lamp? Simone wants to create a lamp that gives her the same feeling she gets when she looks into a kaleidoscope. Kaleidoscopes are simple devices, but there's a lot of aspects to them that make them fairly unlamp-like. The big part is the illusion that's created entirely by looking down these long mirrors that run the length of the tube. Then you need some stuff at the end to create a pattern to reflect. Simone first experiments with projecting light through a kaleidoscope onto a surface. This is a neat effect, but it's a little too muted for what she wants, regardless of how much light she puts behind it. The next experiment preserves the basic function of a kaleidoscope, but changes its shape into this flattened bowl or sort of flower shape. This is already yielding some promising results without anything in the center. But when she places a small jar of stuff in the center and lights the mirror panels from behind, this project really starts coming to life. Lamps are a fairly common maker project, and through Simone's process, it's easy to see why. The function of a lamp is a fairly simple one. It just needs to make light, and that's a pretty simple task to achieve. Everything beyond that is purely aesthetic, and it's a great opportunity to flex those muscles, especially for those of us who get fixated too much on functional problem solving. Which is why Simone had a nearly complete version of her kaleidoscope lamp made from stained glass, but then she remade it all over again, this time with fewer mirrors, softer details, and thinner solder lines. She holds off in the final reveal until the end, but it's worth the wait. There's also a motor to rotate the centerpiece while the rest remains static, and it's a gorgeous effect. It's also a good reminder that you can quickly class up a 3D printed shape just by adding some wooden edge banding to the outside. And it's a great challenge. What are you doing to make your projects as beautiful as possible? Maybe take something like that on this year. And in the meantime, you can check out Simone's full video by following the links down in the description. More projects. Over on YouTube, I found this guide by SDIY on how to make your own remote control butterfly. He begins by visiting a museum with various species of butterflies so he can figure out each wing shape that he wants to emulate. The crazy thing here is that all of the flight movement is created by just 2 microservos, one for each wing. He takes a moment to control each of the servos directly from his remote to show how the various characteristics of the flapping wings create the shape of its flight. Much of this will later be automated via a microcontroller. There's a light airframe made from 16th-inch plywood, and the wings are made from plastic film stretched over a thin frame of carbon fiber rods. The first flight was a failure, but he learned to reshape the wings by observing actual butterflies in flight and not just preserved specimens. And with a corrected wing shape, it was able to take to the skies. It's incredible to see this thing in motion. Check out the full video for all the details. Speaking of satisfying projects, Maksy is creating some of the most visually satisfying furniture a crafter can make. Big stuff that looks like small stuff. Taking inspiration from the film The Borrowers, she's making herself a new sewing chair that looks like an antique thimble, and a high-top table that looks like a thread spool with a measuring tape wrapped around it. The table is made from a cardboard tube used to form concrete, and the spool ends are made from shaped layers of insulation foam. The sewing chair is made from a plastic trash bin and a wooden seat top. It gets some additional structure from an epoxy-like putty she wraps around the outer surface, so she has something she can sculpt the engraved details into. For the spool, she's also using a product called Retikit, which is a primer that contains wood fibers, which means you can go back and stain it using regular wood stain. The thimble chair has a gorgeous patina on it thanks to her painting and weathering, and it all looks great. From DevMode Makes, we have an almost entirely 3D printed countertop vending machine. Perfect to add a little bit of flair for craft shows, retail displays, or just add some fun interaction in a public space. The whole thing is operated through a mobile interface that allows the customer to see prices, what's in stock, and make their purchase. And the seller can use the same interface to stock the machine and set prices. They're not releasing the files for this project just yet, but are considering it for the future. In the meantime, it's a great inspiration, and this could be a great project to take on before the craft show season gets going. Time for a few tips and tools. Angus from Maker's Muse is putting a few uncommon filaments to the ultimate stress test: combat robots. He's a regular competitor in the ant weight class, so finding the strongest and lightest materials for his robots is critical. The star of the show here is PIBA, an alternative to flexible TPU that's more bouncy and a lot lighter than the standard flexible material you're familiar with. He also tests out foaming TPU for soft surfaces like the wheels, and this glass-filled TPU for making large, semi-flexible parts that are resistant to warping. Check it out. Stanton has this fascinating video where he's attempting to store electrical energy in the kinetic motion of a pendulum. There's an interesting phenomenon where a magnet on a pendulum passes near a piece of copper where it creates a momentary electromagnetic field. The current produced is an AC, but with a full bridge rectifier made from surplus diodes, changes it to DC. I don't know how many practical applications this has, but it could be useful for kinetic sculptures, and it's just fun to consider how changing the pendulum period or the weight can affect the voltage output or the current. And finally, Zack Freedman from Voidstar Labs is building a storage shed for his data. There are a ton of options available if you want to build a network-attached storage, but Zack's video is a love letter to TrueNAS. TrueNAS is a free and open-source Linux-based operating system that makes it a breeze to turn aging computer hardware into a high-performance network storage device. Not only is it easy to set up, but it makes particular use of unusual file systems to make sure that the storage is as robust as possible, even recovering from catastrophic failures in Zack's case. It's a great tool to know about if your work has you drowning in external hard drives. For this week's DigiKey Spotlight, embedded Rust sounds like something you'd want to avoid at all costs, unless you're a hardware developer, that is. In his latest DigiKey series, Shawn Hymel has an overview of how to use the Rust programming language in embedded hardware applications. Rust is an ideal language to use with microcontrollers, as it's designed to be a systems-level language intended for speed and safety. It's a trickier language to learn and implement, but Shawn is starting out with all the basics, getting a blank sketch running on hardware, and with plenty more ground to cover going forward. All right, and that is going to do it for this week's show. I hope you enjoyed it. And a quick reminder that you can get more info about every single one of these projects by checking out the links down in the description. While you're there, leave us a comment, give us a thumbs up, and hit subscribe so you won't miss the next one. Huge thanks as always to DigiKey for making this show possible and to you for watching. Take care. We'll see you soon.